Hello all, this is the Owl, and today, as promised, we'll be taking a look at some of the theories proposed by, well, you, our wonderful viewers, subscribers, and Discorders, or something, as the start of a new series that really still needs a name. Anyone got any good ones? Some sort of combination of Made in Abyss and tinfoil hat? Let me know if you have anything in the comments. Before we start though, let me very quickly explain the premise. A good while back, I asked everyone who was making their own theories and suggestions to instead post them on the Discord in a specific dedicated channel. And you certainly did that. This series is here for a few reasons. Firstly, some of these were really enjoyable to read, and one or two of them are very interesting. Maybe even potentially where the story of the manga will go. Others are gloriously bananas. Some of them are all three. These videos are, though, by their nature, going to be a bit shorter and less elaborate than my usual content, as these will also be serving the purpose of buying me time to produce those longer Made in Abyss deep dive videos, which are enjoyable but exceptionally time consuming to put together. We'll be going through 5 at a time in no particular order, with me reading the theory, trying to explain it, and then giving my take on how likely it is to be true or not. Oh right, one last thing. This is still open, so if you want to submit a theory for the series, head on over to our little Discord and drop them into the relevant channel. Anywho, spoops and spoopettes, without any further ado, let's all adjust the straps on our tinfoil hats and prepare to dive into some fan theories. Our first comes to us courtesy of, I think, Cowmap. This theory is an entire manga spoiler. Beware. There are portals all over the abyss. That would explain a lot, like a ship in the wall, or the burnt ship in the middle of the ocean, whose crew looked like they were hit by something that could be the curse of the 7th layer. Portals can instantly move you to other places, but it won't protect you from the curse. Another detail is about Menae and Shirumi. When they are dying, Menae is saying, "I wonder if the immovable lord will come again." So I think that they actually died on the 6th layer, and the immovable lord is on the 2nd layer. I think Ozen wanted to test them and left them in the middle of the 2nd layer. So remember what Hablog found on the 2nd layer? A strange thing, a portal, which surprisingly had funeral name tags around it. Lots of them. And it goes on in this vein. Yeah, a lot of these will be quite long, and I will occasionally rework the phrasing, or the grammar, or even the structure just to make it a bit easier to follow. And yeah, this one is a really interesting idea. I never thought of it myself, and it does make that name tags moment actually make sense, because that is a moment in the manga that made me go, huh? I wasn't sure if it was really happening, or if it was just metaphorical or some sort of vision. But this would certainly help explain that. As for the Shirumi and Menae thing, you know what? I am going to need a bit longer to think that one through, as it's really bloody interesting. And I do plan on going into this when we get there in my deep dive series. Hopefully this isn't proven or disproven before then. So I'm not going to say yay or nay on this one, aside from saying that it's interesting. Our next comes to us courtesy of Blade Dragon. The abyss is collapsing in on itself every 2,000 years and adding a new layer. The original layer is actually the deepest one before the pit existed, where some long forgotten advanced civilization created technologies that resulted in many of the relics and creatures that can be seen. Yes, again, I'm not reading these entire things. Feel free to pause the video if you want to, but I think you've got the gist of it. This broadly falls into what folks have decided to call the advanced civilization theory, or at least I have. In this one, the abyss was caused by some ancient and super advanced civilization doing some sort of timey-wimey related experiments that went terribly wrong. Overall, yeah, I think that this one is extremely likely. We've got the 2,000-year cycle, we've got what could certainly be hyper-evolved fauna and flora, and a ton of other temporal shenanigans, including time dilation, folks with the ability to see the future, and of course relics that can directly manipulate time. And I do personally like the idea of whatever was on the surface becomes the new layer 1 every cycle. Again, I love this one, and the interesting question is, how do Liza and the unheard bell tie into all of this? Number 3. From Samurai Noodles, I still have it in my mind that Riko is going to snap at some point. Something happens to Reg or Nanachi, or maybe something happens with Liza that's so traumatizing for her that she goes off the deep end. Also, keep in mind that I find Bondrude to be a reflection of what Riko could become. Riko going Fruit Loops or Riko going evil, it's something that I have thought about a bit myself. There's definitely some foreshadowing, starting right back in Volume 1, with Riko saying some very George Mallory-esque stuff, as well as a running theme of hubris and what defines a white whistle being the willingness to do anything, to sacrifice literally anything, to get deeper into the abyss, whether it be lunchboxes or gummy bears. That said, I think the similarities between her and Bondrude were more of a slightly iffy attempt to give the protagonist and the antagonist a different sides of the same coin thing. But who knows? I do think that we're going to see Liza turn out to be our final antagonist though, and to complicate matters further, remember, Riko is already dead. Number 4 comes to us courtesy of Crazy. My theory: the abyss lures people to the bottom through memories it shares. The people who want to travel to the bottom are all canonically overcome with a strong sense of homesickness, even though they do not have this feeling towards the places they are actually from. They long for the depths of the abyss. Why would they feel that way towards a place they have never been? Because the abyss shares all its memories through its relics and through scent. Why scent? Because that is how Belaf shared his memories with Nanachi and Faputa. The abyss gives off a scent worldwide. Oh, you mean like a pheromone? Huh. that carries its memories and passes them on to human beings, making them feel like their own memories, or at least giving them a sense of nostalgia or longing towards those memories. Some may be more susceptible to it than others, giving them prophecies, Wazukyan for example, thus luring people into itself. Ooh, that's a good one, although, weirdly enough, not the best theory Crazy has come out with on the Discord. But that one deserves a video of its own, trust me, we'll get there. So this is the Abyss is a predator theory with a new wrinkle, implying that the Abyss itself is not only alive and sentient, at least in some fashion, but also predatory, sort of like a gigantic anglerfish. I dig it, but I do think that the omnipresence of smell-based mechanics might just be Tsukushi indulging in one of his many kinks. The homesickness? Now that is a good question. Maybe it has something to do with what's going to turn out to be some kind of pseudo-reincarnation or causality loop involving our characters, Orth, and the cycles. We'll have to see. Solid theory. The last one comes to us courtesy of Project Sirius. I love that Bondrude could easily have stopped Nanachi during her escape with Prushka, but this theory was actually from a Reddit user, and I am just recalling it to the best of my memory. Bondrude may have used his relic to see through Nanachi's eyes. By extension, he has been seeing what Nanachi has and what she will be doing. To this, Bondrude might have allowed Nanachi to escape, since he could have thought that her escape is due to her wanting to do her own experiments unaided by him, since Nanachi has been aiding Bondrude with his experiments. Nanachi being a closet villain. I'm not sure about that one. On one hand, Tsukushi has intimated that Bondrude's seeing through Nanachi's eyes thing will eventually be explained, and he's definitely still lurking around the margins of the story. But making Nanachi into a straight-up villain, I dunno. It would be a really odd decision in terms of storytelling. There'd be so much dissonance with what we know of her character thus far. Take Mitty, for example. The sacrifice Nanachi was willing to make in order to prevent Belaf from feeding on the Mitty clone, I don't think that's something a villain would do. And while Nanachi definitely does have her dark side, she indeed not only assisted Bondrude with his own hideous experiments, but also carried out experiments of her own on Kavis in attempts to find a way to put her seemingly immortal friend down. It's an interesting theory, but not to my mind one that is likely. Anyways, before we finish for the day, I want to give a huge thanks, as always, to my fantastic patrons. And if you have become a patron and don't hear your name on here, keep in mind that I record these a week or two in advance. Piece of Yeast, Elspresso, Cheerful Satanist, Starwin Marwin, Kel Core, Jacob Ramsey, Crazy, James Bakes Bread, Wargle, Lance Goebel, Paul Norberger, Rafferty, Aaron Arnold, The Hedgehog Gamer, Simone, XTC Pill, and Jake. If you want to see more like this, why not stick around? Subscribe, bell, you know the drill. If you want to hear me say your name, get early access to most of my videos, have some fun perks on the Discord, and, you know, help Mrs. Owl and I out, or buy Baby Owl the necessaries, and ensure that I can keep on doing what I do, why not take a look at our Patreon? All links, as always, are in the description. What did you think of these theories? Let us know in the comments or on the Discord. Anyways, take care, my friends, and cheers. This is the Owl, signing off.